Getting into our next story here, we're gonna do this a little bit cleverly because I've heard that YouTube doesn't necessarily like the subject we're about to talk about. But as a responsible gun owner, I feel like this is a story that I should bring to everyone's attention. So, Supreme Court denies challenges to the state laws banning assault-style weapons and high-capacity magazines. I'm going to do this segment. It's going to be two. It's going to be this story as well as, because I feel like the two are related. You've got this one, and then you've also got Kavanaugh signals Supreme Court will soon decide constitutionality of banning ARs. So the Supreme Court refused to bring up a challenge to a state law banning ARs and high-capacity magazines. They just said, we're not going to talk about it at all. But Kavanaugh says that they're going to bring it up later. So got some mixed messaging from the Supreme Court here. Let's look at in the agitator, the first issue, the Supreme Court with the Rhode Island and Maryland laws. Bias distribution is pretty equal, 54% left, 54% center, 22% left, 24% right, 207 articles. So definitely a lot of reporting on this subject. A lot of people interested in what's going on. On the flip side, this whole Kavanaugh wishy-washy thing has only got 11 articles, mostly right-leaning reporting. You've got 55% center, and then what does it say, 9% left? So we will read this article by the AP. A split Supreme Court on Monday rejected a pair of gun rights cases, though one conservative justice predicted the court would soon consider whether the assault weapons bans are constitutional. The majority did not explain its reasoning in turning down the case over high-capacity magazines and state bans on guns like AR-15s, popular weapons that have also been used in mass shootings. Well, lots of guns have been used in mass shootings. Let's not get it twisted. This is selective reporting to try to push a narrative, and I don't like that when it comes to guns. I'm pretty against that. I feel like responsible gun ownership is probably a little bit more of the way to go, but I was brought up with them. I shot a gun the first time when I was 8 years old, so. But the three conservative justices on the 9-member court publicly noted their disagreement, and a fourth said he is skeptical that the assault weapons bans are constitutional. Justice Samuel Alito and Neil Gorsuch said that they would have taken the cases challenging Maryland's ban, and Justice Clarence Thomas wrote separately that the law is likely to run afoul of the Second Amendment. I would not wait to decide whether the government can ban the most popular rifle in America, Thomas wrote. The question is critical importance to tens of millions of law-abiding AR-15 owners throughout the country, which is true. Justice Brett Kavanaugh agreed with the decision to pass on the case for now, but indicated that he is skeptical such bans are constitutional and expects the courts will address the issue in the next term or two. The Maryland law was passed after the 2012 shooting at Sandy Hook Elementary School in Connecticut that killed 20 children and 6 adults. The shooter was armed with an AR-15, one of the firearms that is commonly referred to as an assault weapon. Define terms. Several states have similar measures, and congressional Democrats have also supported the concept. The challengers have argued that the people have a constitutional right to own firearms like the AR-15, which most gun owners use legally. The case comes nearly 3 years after the High Court handed down a landmark ruling that expanded the Second Amendment rights and spawned challenges to firearm laws around the country. 10 states in the District of Columbia have similar laws covering major cities like New York and Los Angeles. Congress has allowed a national assault weapons ban to expire in 2004. The gun control group Everytown Law applauded the High Court's action, saying the measure makes communities safer. We will fight to ensure the courts continue to uphold these life-saving laws, said Janet Carter, managing director of the Second Amendment litigation. More than twice as many people died in mass shootings in which large capacity magazines and assault weapons, defined terms, were used between 2015 and 2022, the group said, but the ban was lifted in 2004, so this seems like a false equivalency. Attorneys for Maryland argued that the guns aren't protected by the Constitution because they're similar to military-grade weapons. Okay, yeah. So Attorneys from Maryland argued that guns aren't okay. Yeah. So the gun rights group Second Amendment Foundation said that 7 other cases challenging the bans and plans to continue to aggressively litigate them. Millions of Americans continue to be disenfranchised from exercising their complete Second Amendment rights by virtue of these categorical bans. Executive Director Adam Kraut said. The High Court also rebuffed a bid to overturn the state's bans on high-capacity gun magazines in a case out of Rhode Island. Thomas, Alito, and Gorsuch said that they would have heard the case. More than a dozen states have also had similar laws limiting the amount of ammunition a magazine can hold, including here in Oregon, which really sucks, but it is what it is. Thomas and Kavanaugh have previously, if you need 30 rounds to do what most people can do it with in like 6 or 10, then you're spraying and praying. But an appeals court judge in 2011, Kavanaugh wrote a dissent saying that similar measures in Washington, D.C. was unconstitutional. Thomas, meanwhile, dissented in 2015 when the Supreme Court declined to hear a challenge to a municipal ban on the AR-15 style weapons, writing that the overwhelming majority of people who owned the weapons used them for lawful purposes like self-defense. The High Court in 2022 handed down a ruling that expanded gun rights and told lower court judges they should no longer consider factors like public safety in deciding whether firearm laws are constitutional. Instead, they should focus on whether a law fits into the nation's historic tradition of gun ownership, the court said. That's interesting. Excuse me. That led to a flurry of challenges to gun laws around the country, multiple restrictions struck down, and confusion among lower court judges over what gun laws can stay on the books. Since then, the Supreme Court has overturned a ban on rapid-fire gun accessories called bump stocks, but upheld a law bringing people under domestic violence restraining orders from having guns and regulations on nearly untraceable ghost guns. So, yeah, smart gun legislation is good. Wide-reaching gun registration that doesn't make any sense, maybe not necessarily as good. So that's my hot take. It kind of went over the Kavanaugh. I had another article for the Kavanaugh thing pulled up, but it kind of went over that. So we're gonna leave this one at that and move on. Hey, Cousin Matt here. Thanks for checking out that clip from Nightly News This Morning, a show I do live on this channel on Tuesdays and Fridays at 6:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you like the content, please drop the video a like. Feel free to subscribe if you haven't already. And I really do appreciate your comments. I'm really looking forward to having a discussion. I'd love to know what you think about it, and we will see you in the next one.